Welcome to Pixel. In this video, we are going to cover removing various types of spaces from your spreadsheet data. Keep in mind that although we are using Google Sheets, the formula and tools we are using are also available to use and work with on Microsoft Excel, Apple's Numbers, and Google Sheets. Let's take a look at some examples of inconsistent data spaces that you might run into and how to fix these issues easily. Here, we have a file with some basic data: first name, last name, phone number, and full name. Each of these fields have some sort of inconsistent spacing issues. Some of them are more obvious than others. For example, in cell A3, Joe has a space after his name. Some of these spacing issues might not seem like a big deal, but when it comes to using this data or importing it into a marketing or sales tool, these small issues can cause problems. If we want to have the best usable data, we need to make sure that our data is clean and standardized. Let's look at the first and last name fields first. Each of the names have some random spacing, either before the name, after the name, or in the middle of the name. It would be hard to see these issues on a spreadsheet with a lot of data, and we don't want to waste our time fixing it one by one. So here we're going to learn a few methods of removing these spaces. Let's look at 3 methods to fix these issues easily. We are going to start with first name first. Select the column. Then use Ctrl+F if you are on a PC or Command+F if you are on a Mac to pull up the Find menu. As you can see, the Find menu popped up on the top right side of our Google Sheets. From here, we are going to select the 3 dots to pull up an additional menu. On this menu, we now have the option to select a value in the highlighted cells and replace it with something else. Using this option, you can remove all the spaces before the name, after the name, and in the middle of the name. In this case, we are replacing blank spaces. So in the Find column, we are going to add a blank space. And in the Replace column, we will leave that blank since we don't want to add anything. We just want to remove the space. Let's click Replace All. As you can see, the system replaced 5 instances: Jane, John, Bob, and Stephen. All of the spaces in these names are removed. Let's use this for phone number as well. Great. We now have a standardized first name and phone number field. Please be aware that removing these spaces in this method will result in removing the first name space and the phone number space. So now your first name and your phone number do not have a space between them. This is a downside to using this method of replacing spaces, but it's great at removing everything in between. Whereas some of these other options will only remove spaces to the right or to the left of your data. Let's take a look at another option. Let's take full name. In the case of the full name, we don't want to use the Control Find option because we still want the space between the first and the last name in the column. We still want Joe Doe, Bob Rye, Jane Ritt to have spaces between their first and the last names. But we do want to reconcile the space before the first name and after the last name. So how do we do that? Let's highlight the full name. Then we can go to Data, Data Cleanup, and Trim White Spaces. Here, the system automatically trims all the white spaces on the left and on the right side of your data, but not in the middle. We can see all these names are standardized now. Since the Trim White Spaces option will only trim to the left and to the right sides of your data, this option can be safely used on the full name field to get rid of any unwanted white spaces without merging the first and last names together. One last useful option. You don't have to select a column for this. Go back to the top of the page and select Data. Select Data Cleanup again, and this time let's select Cleanup Suggestions. This feature is unique to Google Sheets. As you can tell, you will get a pop-up on the right side of your screen with all the data suggested cleanup for blank spaces, and you can choose to approve the cleanup individually or by group. Notice that this also just cleans up spaces to the left and to the right of your data. So in this case, your last option on the last name field will still have spaces in the middle. We can use one of the previous options to find and replace the spaces in that case. Let's reconcile these spaces. Hope this helps clean up your data. Write your questions in the comments below. Thanks.